Hello and welcome to my podcast. My name is Liz, not Hooter. What? Hello, my name is Liz and welcome to my podcast. I live on the outskirts of London. I am a mostly knitter and wannabe sewist. And this podcast is a way of sharing my crafting and creative life. If you wish to follow me on Instagram, my handle is @thegroucholiz. If you like what you see, please press the like button. Please subscribe so you can find out what thing I'm going to be doing next. Hint, it's probably going to be another pair of socks. If you don't like what you see, give me a thumbs down. It doesn't matter. It all contributes to the YouTube algorithm. I am going to start with my normal disclaimer. I don't know what's going to come out of my mouth. It could be swearing, it could be adult themes, or it could just be a load of blather and a load of ramble. We will see. But from this point onwards, proceed at your own caution. If you are a new viewer, thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to spend some time with me. If you are a returning viewer, thank you very much for coming back. Since I last spoke to you, we've had an election for London Mayor. There were several people I did not want to get in, none of them did. So from that point of view, I'm pleased. However, I am ambivalent about Sadiq Khan. We'll see what the next however many years, 4 years I think it is, his term of office, we will see what that brings. But yeah. I've also had my second COVID vaccination, which was last weekend, which is quite good now. So I'm fully jabbed up. I think it's another week or so, 10 days before I'm supposed to be fully inoculated and fully protected. But due to the bus timetable, I turned up an hour early. So I waited outside with my knitting. And as I was sitting outside knitting, I saw somebody inside in the critical care centre or the emergency care or whichever bit, the other side of a glass wall, who was also knitting. So as she was sort of turning her head round, I knocked on the window and waved my socks at her as if to say, look, I'm a knitter too. Which I think she appreciated. She gave me a thumbs up. And then I had to do the very awkward socks whilst pointing at my feet. Obviously, big glass wall. She couldn't explain what she was knitting, but it looked like it was something with a loopy design on it. So I was watching her as she was knitting, and it was very definitely put the needle in, wrap the yarn 2 or 3 times round. Very pretty, but I don't know exactly what it was. Here in England, we've taken the next step towards lockdown. So more things opened up at the beginning of the week. To be honest, I'm not entirely sure what is or isn't open. I just know the 21st of June is the end date where everything is supposed to be completely lifted. All restrictions are supposed to be completely lifted. However, that may be under threat because of the Indian variant. So I'm going to do what every sensible person is doing and still staying at home regardless. Whilst it's lovely to be able to get out and about, I'm also finding I'm kind of anxious about doing it because people are at risk of thinking that everything's all right. Most people are vaccinated. We don't need to worry about social distancing or mask wearing or hand washing or anything like that. And it's not like that. I know that although things are starting to lift, we are not completely over it yet. Certainly not in Britain and definitely not on a worldwide scale. However, having said that, tomorrow I'm going to Unravel, and the day after that, James and I are going to be going to a local butterfly farm or a local butterfly centre. So I am going to be going out and about, but only under very, very strict circumstances. Enough of the chit chat. Shall I show you some finished objects? I think I will. The first one will be of absolutely no surprise to anybody, I'm sure. It's a pair of Christmas socks. This is pair 3, I think, of the 5 pairs of Christmas socks I wanted to knit this year. The main yarn, the red and white stripy, is from Twinkly Knits on Etsy. And the contrasting heels, toes and cuffs are Mayflower #1 yarn, which I bought from the hobby website. The pattern is Fairy Lights pattern by Winwick Mum. I only started knitting cuff down socks this year. I found my pattern that I like and I'm sticking to it for the time being. However, having knit 3-4 pairs of socks in a row, all with the same pattern, I need to find a new one. But this pattern I found has been really good for building my confidence in knitting cuff down socks. Now, Winwick Mum, shall I take these down? My arms are starting to hurt. Now, Winwick Mum does have a what do you call it? A sockalong pattern, sort of a basic bog standard vanilla cuff down sock pattern, which I tried to use, but you had to do maths for it. There was a bit where you had to do maths, and that maths confused me. And even though I thought I had the numbers right, the knitting came out wrong, which is why I've chosen to stick to the Fairy Light pattern. But you know, other people have used the sockalong pattern, have been very happy with it. It just didn't click with the right part of my brain, so that's why I've stuck to the Fairy Light sock pattern. But yay, more Christmas socks. Yes, there are a couple more ends to weave in, and I haven't yet blocked them, but these are finished. I'm not going to wait until next time just to weave in a couple of ends. One more item off the needles. The next item I have is something a little bit more niche, which is this. Now, I have talked before about the European Jamboree and how it was supposed to be last year, postponed until this year, and then cancelled, all because of COVID. Sorry, the light and face, and yeah. But these are the badges that I was given as part of that planned camp, along with one of the neckerchiefs that I was given. So I've sewn the whole lot onto the base of the neckerchief, and that as one item is going to get sewn onto my camp blanket. Now, for people not involved in guiding and scouting, your camp blanket is basically a blanket where you put all of your old badges of places you've been to, badges of camps that you've been to. Me as a leader, I've got interest badges that we've done in a unit with the girls, commemorative badges for the centenary, for 75th anniversary of Brownies, for the Brownie centenary, all sorts of things. I mean, there are hundreds and hundreds of badges on my blanket. All of the badges I earned when I was a Brownie, all of the badges I earned when I was a guide, all of the badges I earned when I was a ranger. But that blanket is then kept with you as a memento of your guiding or scouting life. So anyway, this, as a memorial to the camp that never happened, is all ready to go onto my camp blanket. And the final finished object I have is this, which is a project bag. So penguins on the outside, blue zip, bright red lining. And I have made this for the Dodgy Bag Mal, which is being run by Ali from Little Drops of Wonderful. It's a thing she does every May in conjunction with Crochet Luna, who is an American vlogger. And basically the challenge is make a bag. Just make a bag. So this is a bag I've made. I've got 2 more in process, so when I finish those I will share them. I possibly made the handle a little bit long, I'm not sure. But yeah, this is all ready for December, when I could be knitting some Christmas socks. I only have 1 whip on the needles at the moment, at least that I'll admit to. There are several pairs of socks in hibernation. I can't remember if I've said this before, but I really, really do need to do something about them. The socks currently on my needles are these ones, which are, yes, you've guessed it, another pair of Christmas socks. The toes, heels and cuffs are going to be done in the Twinkly Knits yarn, and the green is Regia, and the colourway Leaf, I think it is. At the moment, yeah, there's not really that much to show for them. These were the socks I was knitting as I was communicating through a big glass wall to the lady at the hospital. I'm doing toe up just for a change. I've done enough cuff down for the time being. This is the Hollyberry pattern, or based on the Hollyberry pattern, which is on the West Yorkshire Spinners website. The Hollyberry pattern itself has a cabled design, I think it is. It has some kind of design up the body of the sock, which I'm not going to do, just because I need something which is simple. You know, kind of COVID anxiety, etc. I want something which is nice and simple, and this is it. But it's a pattern which is written for contrasting heels, toes and cuffs, toe up. It's not one I've knit before, so yeah, that's going to be a fun one, I think. And hopefully it will use up all of the remaining Twinkly Knits yarn, because it is a really nice yarn. So I was knitting these socks on the bus on the way to get my jab and in front of the sofa at home, and I can do simple garter stitch without looking, which sometimes means I drop a stitch without realising, which is what I did with these. So I was about there where that top blue marker is, and I noticed the stitch had dropped about there. So I had to rip out that whole section between the two blue markers to pick up the stitch to then knit it back up again. It's very annoying. I could just get a bit of the white yarn and weave it in and sort it out that way, but I would know, and I would also be really cautious about that stitch coming unravelled and dropping and ending up with holes in my socks and, you know, bad things. So although this was a faff, I am happy with the socks I've got. Now, at the beginning of the year, I talked about my creative aims for 2021, one of which was to sew an item of clothing. I haven't yet managed that, but I am making steps. I have got this, which it may not look much, but this is the twill for the blouse that I would like to make. Now, originally, as I cut it out on the pattern, the front was very baggy, it was kind of falling forward, it was slipping off and showing my bra straps. So there are two ways to resolve that: lift the neckline or lift the shoulders. So this twill has actually been made with the shoulders lifted, but that has made it slightly tight across the back. And I'm not 100% sure if this is the right solution. So my plan is to get, there's some other fabric I have, but to use that to make another blouse with the lifted neckline, and then compare the fitting of the two before using my patterned fabric. That, I don't know how long that's going to take. The blue fabric I would like to make blouse Mark II is somewhere. I thought it was in the spare room, which I'm filming in now. I couldn't find it in the box I thought it was supposed to be in. I'm now wondering if it's been put into a suitcase somewhere. Last time we were trying to tidy up and sort stuff out. So I'm going to have to go for a dig for that. And it is, of course, you can't see from here what's to my left, but it is going to be a bit of a dig. But I'm on the way to making myself a blouse. I am also doing a whole separate video on making of the blouse. I've been recording bits as I've gone along. I will edit it all together when I've finished. But yes, I am getting through my list of creative aims for the year, which is quite fun actually, quite exciting. Now, I talked at the beginning of the episode about my ambivalence over the London mayoral elections, but it's also true to say there's a lot happening at a national level in the UK that I'm not happy about. It's kind of making me, again, very anxious. There are lots of things I have on my mind, and my response to that over the last month or so has just been to buy stuff, which I acknowledge is not a healthy response, but it is the response I have made, which means that there's swag to share. First of which is from Jarnistry. Now, I've followed Jarnistry on social media for quite a while now, so when she announced that she was going to be selling off little stitch marker boxes, I was like, fantastic. And this is what they look like. I don't think there are any available now, unfortunately. But yeah, you've got 4 individual bits at the top, 1 big bit at the bottom, which then, if I can find the right bits, no, it's there, isn't it? No, it's not, it's there. Yeah, talk amongst just, oh no, it's that. Couldn't be more obvious if you tried. But opens up like that, so everything is all individually cased, as it were, individually and enclosed, and then these bits, the green bits, will open up. I think this is probably going to be better for me if I'm going somewhere and want to take lots of different types of stitch markers with me. I did try to fill it up with the stitch markers I own and I ran out of space. Although one of the stitch markers I have in here, rattle, rattle, rattle. Yeah, a couple of pairs of stitch markers are these 2 unicorn stitch markers, which I made, and which the camera is probably not going to want to focus on. I've just spent about 5 minutes trying to get my camera to focus on these. It is not doing so. But yes, these are 2 little unicorn stitch markers, which I made. I've got a group of friends. We nicknamed ourselves Team Unicorn, and one of the members was making unicorn bracelets with her brownies and had some sets left over, and she gave them to us. So instead of making mine into a bracelet, I made mine into stitch markers. The next thing I got was this little pair of knitting needles badge, which was on reduced. I presume it's the end of the range, I'm not sure, but that was on a reduced price. Somewhere I've got a badge from Jarnistry, which is a purple ball of yarn. So I think the 2 of those will complement each other. Yep, that was an Amazon delivery for James. As I was saying, this came from Jarnistry. It was on reduced. I'm not sure if this is going to be an end of the line thing or not, but somewhere I have a purple ball of yarn badge which will complement this beautifully. But there's more. I also got a very nice red ruby stitch marker, or sorry, progress keeper. Now the lady behind Jarnistry, this is not going the right way around, not that the camera will focus on it. So the lady behind Jarnistry earlier on this year was doing a stitch marker club, or a stitch marker one-off of Moomin stitch markers with money going to charity. But there was somebody who'd came along and I think reported her to somebody, and was harassing her and bullying her and threatening her business with copyright. I don't know, I can't remember the exact details, but in the end the Moomin Stitch Club marker was pulled. All of the materials were used to make other stitch markers. All of the people who'd paid money for the Moomin Stitch Marker Club had to have their money refunded. It was a really big hassle and expense. Proceeds of this stitch marker is going towards a charity which helps against bullying. So that was why I wanted to buy this one, partly because it's beautiful and gorgeous, and partly because I thought the way she'd been treated was just disgusting, and if I could do something to show solidarity, I would, which is this. But that's not all. Jarnistry also do a stitch marker lucky dip. So there's 2 options. One is the stitch marker lucky dip, where you get, I think it's 16 stitch markers, just any, or there's the lucky dip bag where you get 8 stitch markers plus other stuff, which literally could be anything. I went for that. So I said yes to swears, and on this I've got little gnome. That took me a long time to work out what that was. I thought it was a swimsuit or something. Googly eye, love the googly eye. Dinosaur, swear, a stitch marker that just says dick. A little flower, if I can unravel it all. Pasta, yeah, there you go, that's the pasta. This little chap, I think that's from a cartoon or a game of some sort, I'm not entirely sure. This one here that just says I love beaver, which are the lucky dip things that she does. So 8 little stitch markers, which are very cool. And then for the lucky dip section of it, a reel of tape with knitting patterns on it. So you've either got stockingette or the garter and stockingette alternating. Yarn hoe sticker, knitting ribbon, which I didn't even know was a thing. And then the thing I was most excited by, mini skein of Countess Ablaze yarn. So this is Lady Persephone sock from the Yarn Cartel. I don't think it even has a colourway name on it, but it's a really lovely teal, purple, slightly blue, absolutely gorgeous. 20 grams worth. Genuinely not sure what I'm going to do with that, but it is gorgeous. And it's just my colours, and I'm very pleased to have it in my collection. This one is for James for a surprise jumper. Now, as he's in the flat at the moment, I can't talk too much about it, but that is the colour I've got for him, because that is the colour I know he likes. I was knitting a pair of socks out of this, and I just casually said to him, so what do you think of that colour for your jumper? And he's like, oh yes, that's good, I like that colour. So that's the one I got for him. And then I got this one as well from the hobby website, Mayflower 1 Class. This one, not sure what colour this is, but I kind of bought it blind from the website, and it is the nice tealy shade that I like. So that is that. Also from the hobby website, I got this pin. Now this pin is their logo, but because it is just a stack of yarn, if you don't know Hobby the company, you won't know what that means. You'll just think it is literally a stack of yarn. And I've put that on the pin pennant that I made last year, which hangs on this side facing that direction. There's a little hook you can't see, but that's where it hangs on my knitting bookshelf. But that's still not all. In addition to all of that, I went on to Wish and bought myself some more pins. I'm honestly not sure what prompted me to look on Wish and see what stuff they had available, but I did. I got another pin which just says Black Sheep Club, and this one which is a sheep made into a ball of yarn. I mean, the people that were selling this, there were 2 or 3 designs I liked, which I may go back for, I may not, I don't know, but this was my favourite. The other thing I also got from Wish were 2 necklaces which had knitting needle charms on them, which I didn't keep as necklaces. I put them onto earring backs and made the earrings that I'm wearing today. Tomorrow I'm going to be going to Unravel with a very good friend of mine called Jane. I've had a look to see who is exhibiting, and there are a couple of people I'm really quite excited about. I'm going to have to go through again this evening and make a list of these are the things I'm looking out for. So that's tomorrow. Trip to the butterfly farm or butterfly centre with James the day after. Knitting wise, last time I talked about making a V-neck jumper using a vintage pattern and about trying to work out how to convert the old measurements and whatnot into modern. That's not going to work. If you're trying to knit a vintage pattern and the pattern calls for 5 balls of 1 ounce yarn, but that particular yarn is no longer available and you can't find any pictures whatsoever of the yarn ball to work out exactly how long lengthwise an ounce of yarn is, you're not going to be able to judge the amount of yarn you need for your vintage pattern. So I've scrapped that idea and come up with a new one. Now this was a supplement that came with Knit Now magazine. Genuinely not sure when. When was it? Right, don't know when that came from, but the way it's structured is very clever, I think. You have your pattern, which has got gaps at various points, and then you have a table like that, and then you fill in the details from that table into the pattern. So it means that you've got patterns for, there's a circular neck jumper, the Danielle jumper, the one I want to knit, has got either a V-neck or a boat neck. There is a cardigan, but all of these have got equivalent tables for being knit in 4-ply double knit or Aran weight yarn. So there is so many possibilities on what you can do. This is the pattern I'm going to use for my V-neck sweater, because I think it is far, far easier to use than a vintage pattern, which I can't work out the yardage for. So that is a good thing. Hopefully this afternoon or this evening I will be able to do a swatch for it, so that I can take the needles and yarn with me and start knitting the sleeves on the train to Unravel tomorrow. Now, the next thing that I am in the process of doing is unravelling a sweater. Back when I first started knitting, it was either 2004 or 2008, I cannot remember, when the Knitting Olympics was still called the Knitting Olympics, before the organisers got in trouble with the Olympic Committee. I was trying to knit myself a jumper, which was the Howl and Cowl from Stitch and Bitch book. The pictures all look very pretty, but it's a very loosely knit sweater, which somebody pointed out to me would mean it would lose its shape quite quickly. And also, I thought I knew better than the pattern. So when I knit the arms, I knit them 3/4 length rather than full length. And it just sort of stayed in a pile in the spare room for quite a long time with nothing happening to it. So I've gone through, I've started to unravel it, and I've basically got myself some new stash, which looks like this. Without the ball band, which I don't have with me, I couldn't tell you what the yarn is. I think it's an Aran weight, that much I do know, and I'm pretty sure it's merino. But once all of this has been unravelled, I'm then going to work out what to knit with it. There is a like a tank top pattern that I've seen which I like, but I don't think that's going to use all of the yarn. So yes, we shall see. But I've taken out the majority of it. I've done the easy bit. But what I thought was going to be a nice and easy undo the cast off row and then just rip it out has not happened. But yeah, this is essentially a new stash rather than deep stash. So yes, that is everything I have to talk about this episode, which was actually more than I thought there was. I'm really looking forward to Unravel tomorrow. I'm going to be meeting up with my friend beforehand for a cup of tea / hot chocolate / glass of wine / gin and tonic. It's a long time since I've seen her, and I think, to be honest, it's going to be very good for me. Much as I'm in a bit of a hermit mentality at the moment, getting out and seeing a good friend and seeing other people is definitely going to be good for me. So I will take my phone with me. I'm going to do an episode about it, or I hope to, about the real life versus online. And yeah, I will share everything that happens next time. I've also got or found my old vlog that I did for Willin back in, I think, 2018, 4 years ago, which is quite funny to look back on, you know, who I was 4 years ago. But I am slowly trying to edit that, and I want to share that at some point as well. So yeah, there are plans for the future. Please come back next time. Again, I would love to share this creative journey with you. I'd love to know what you're knitting. Do you have plans for any yarn festivals? Have you been to any yarn festivals whilst we've been in lockdown? I mean, when I say been to any yarn festivals, I mean go to the online virtual yarn festivals. But yes, I would love to see you again next time. Like I say, please like this, dislike it, leave me a comment, subscribe. I will see you very soon, and in the meantime, take care of yourself and your yarn stash. Bye. I also got this. Shut up!